Welcome to our training on Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP. This training is intended for site supervisors who are operating the congregate summer food service program within their school locations. Before we get started, I wanted to discuss the importance of offering meals to students throughout the summer months. First of all, hunger does not take a vacation. Right now, there are more than 1 in 5 children who experience food insecurity in this country. And in Rutherford County schools alone, we have approximately 800 students who are considered homeless. Operating a summer meals program not only provides students and families with food security, it makes good business sense. Serving meals during the summer provides additional employment opportunities to our current staff members, improves operational efficiency, and brings additional federal reimbursement dollars to the district. With proper planning and execution, you can run a profitable summer food service program that also meets the needs of your community. Congratulations! You are receiving this training because you've been selected as a site supervisor or backup to the site supervisor at your location. In the following training slides, we will discuss everything you need to know in fulfilling your role. As a school food service authority, we have the ability to provide up to 2 meals per day to kids and teens ages 18 and younger, free of charge during the summer months. These meals must meet the nutritional and quality standards similar to what we follow during the regular school year and are fully reimbursed by the USDA. In order to participate, the meal site must be located in an attendance area of a school where 50% or more of children are eligible for free or reduced priced meals. All meals served are claimed at the same rate and receive the same reimbursement for every eligible meal served. Much like the school year, we have requirements we must follow in order to be reimbursed, including following the meal pattern, keeping adequate records, and training our teams. We will go through each of these requirements now. Meal patterns for the SFSP follow the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP, meal pattern, which is generally simpler than the school lunch or breakfast meal patterns. At breakfast, 3 components are required: milk, fruit, and grain in the amounts shown in this chart. Each lunch meal should contain 1 cup of milk, 2 ounces of meat or meat alternate, 1 serving of grain, and 3/4 of a cup of fruit and or vegetables. This could be in the form of 2 fruits, 2 vegetables, or a vegetable and a fruit, as long as they total up to 3/4 of a cup. Each offering must also be different. You could not offer a 3/4 cup of strawberries and it qualify as the fruit and vegetable component. Unlike the National School Lunch Program, in this meal pattern, only 1 milk option is required. It is not necessary to offer a choice of milk as you do in the normal school year. Enriched and whole grains are also allowable, and there is no requirement for vegetable subgroups in this meal pattern, unlike the National School Lunch Program. One thing to note is that if you are offering 2 meals a day, those meals cannot be both lunch and supper. It either has to be breakfast and lunch, breakfast and supper, breakfast and snack, lunch and snack, or supper and snack. Lunch and supper cannot be served on the same day by the same food service authority. In addition to the meal pattern, site supervisors are required to receive training on our integrity plan, daily documentation requirements, food safety procedures, and civil rights. As part of our integrity plan, we're required to make every attempt to ensure that people who are receiving meals at a school location are not also going to a curbside site and receiving meals again. In order to ensure this, site supervisors are required to keep an updated roster of all students, teens, and children attending a school camp and adding anyone who may come to the site to receive a meal. The roster will be a live document, so you can update this each week. Once the training is complete, the link to that document will be shared with you. This roster will be what the kitchen staff uses to determine how many meals you will need at your location each day, so it is very important that you update this regularly. As part of our required training, we will discuss civil rights. Civil rights are the non-political rights of a citizen. They are the rights of personal liberty guaranteed to U.S. citizens by the 13th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution and Acts of Congress. Everyone involved in administering programs which receive financial assistance through the federal government must understand civil rights, laws, regulations, procedures, and directives. State agencies are responsible for educating the school nutrition administrator of the School Food Authority annually. Then the School Food Authority administrator is responsible for educating their assigned supervisors and staff each and every year. The Civil Rights Instruction Food and Nutrition Service 113-1 was issued November 8, 2005. The purpose of the instruction is to establish and convey policy and to provide guidance and direction to the USDA Food and Nutrition Service staff, recipients, and customers. An additional purpose is to ensure compliance with and enforcement of the Prevention Against Discrimination in all food nutrition service programs and activities, whether federally funded in whole or in part. So what is a protected class? A protected class is any person or group of people who have characteristics for which discrimination is prohibited based on law, regulation, or executive order. Protected classes in school nutrition programs are race, color, national origin, age, sex, and disability. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a product of the growing demands of the early 60s, launched by the federal government as a response against racial discrimination. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in federally assisted programs. No one in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. The Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987 was issued to ensure non-discrimination in all federal programs, whether the programs were federally funded or not. Discrimination examples in our line of work might be treating or speaking to a child differently, or treating or speaking to a child in a more friendly manner because of their race or color. It might also include assuming that a student doesn't eat a particular food because of their national origin. For example, assuming students of Middle Eastern descent don't eat pork. All of our customers need to be offered the same food choices and be treated the same regardless of their race, color, or national origin. They have the option to choose what they want to eat based on what we offer in our menus. The Age Discrimination Act of 1975 ensures that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of age, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. For example, if you have all the students in your elementary school coming to the serving line to receive lunch, you must offer the same portion sizes to all children, regardless of their age. So you couldn't give a fourth cup serving of food to a younger child just because they are younger. If you were offering a half cup serving to the rest of the students in your school, then you should offer a half cup to the younger child as well. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 is designed to eliminate discrimination on the basis of sex in any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance, whether or not such a program or activity is offered or sponsored by an educational institution as defined by the legislation. For example, you shouldn't offer smaller food portions to girls compared to boys. Just because girls are typically thought of to be physically smaller, they might participate in sports and need similar calories to those of boys their age. The same size portion should be offered to every student. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination on the basis of handicaps in programs and activities receiving or benefiting from federal financial assistance. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, took effect on January 26, 1992, and prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. ADA enables an individual with a disability to enjoy equal opportunity in employment and services. So, in our child nutrition programs, the school manager or cafeteria manager must work with the school and children that are disabled or mentally challenged. They need to be offered the same choices and serving sizes as other students unless they have a properly completed and signed medical statement on file and require special accommodations. In August of 2000, enforcement of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was issued. It stated that a person with limited English proficiency, or LEP, could not be discriminated against because of their language barrier. Recipients of federal financial assistance have the responsibility to take reasonable steps to assure meaningful access to the information and services they provide based on the following factors. 1. Number of portion of LEP persons eligible to be served by the program. 2. Frequency with which LEP individuals come in contact with the program. 3. Nature and importance of the program to people's lives. And 4. Resources available to recipients and cost. School food authorities must explore the most cost-effective means of delivering language services to LEP recipients. The National School Lunch Program is a federally funded program managed by the School Food Authority. And as such, we are required to notify the public of certain things. In the next few slides, we are going to discuss 3 elements of public notification. The first is program availability. We are required to inform applicants, participants, and potential eligible persons of their program rights and responsibilities and the steps necessary for participation. 2. The complaint information. We are required to advise applicants and participants at the service delivery point of their right to file a complaint, how to file a complaint, and the complaint procedures. 3. Our non-discrimination statement. All information, materials, and sources, including websites used by Food Nutrition Services, state agencies, local agencies, or other subrecipients like your school, need to inform the public about Food Nutrition Service programs that they operate. These material and sources must contain the non-discrimination statement. The statement is not required to be included on every page of the program website, but at minimum, the non-discrimination statement or a link to it must be included on the home page of the program information. This is the text for the entire Civil Rights Policy Statement. It should be used in its entirety on your website and on documents printed for your program. We are required to include the entire statement when space permits. We are allowed to use a shortened version where space is limited. We can use the USDA as an equal opportunity provider and employer when the statement will not fit on our communication, for instance, on a menu or other document where space is limited. All Food Nutrition Services Assistance Programs must include a public notification system. The purpose of this system is to inform applicants, participants, and potentially eligible persons of program availability, program rights and responsibilities, the policy of non-discrimination, and the procedure for filing a complaint. One required method of public notification is the "And Justice for All" poster. This poster must be displayed in a conspicuous area where any potential customer could read it. The public notification process should inform potentially eligible persons, applicants, participants, and grassroots organizations of program or changes in programs. It must provide appropriate information in alternative formats for persons with disabilities. It must include the required non-discrimination statement on all appropriate food nutrition services and agency publications, websites, posters, and informational materials. And it must convey the message of equal opportunity in all photos and other graphics that are used to provide program or program-related information. What should you do if a complaint is made? First, notify the school nutrition administrator immediately. Provide forms for written complaints or take detailed notes of oral complaints. In the event that a complainant makes the allegations verbally or through a telephone conversation and refuses or is not inclined to place such allegations in writing, the person to whom the allegations are made will write up the elements of the complaint for the complainant. Verbal complaints must be accepted and forwarded immediately upon receipt. Written complaints must be accepted and forwarded immediately upon receipt as well. For written, verbal, or anonymous complaints, it is necessary that the information obtained be sufficient to determine the identity of the agency or individual toward whom the complaint is directed and to indicate the possibility of a violation. Only the federal representatives may reject a complaint on the basis of lack of merit. Every effort should be made to have the complaint provide the information about the alleged discriminatory action. So, you will need the complainant's name, address, and phone number, location where the discrimination occurred, nature of the incident, basis for the claim, name of any witnesses, and dates when the actions occurred. What are some examples of civil rights noncompliance? Denying the opportunity to apply for program benefits based on a protected class. For example, if free reduced meal applications are going out, they must go out to everyone. All students should receive an application, regardless of where they live or their nationality. Another example of noncompliance is giving student eligibility information to anyone without receiving permission from the school nutrition administrator. Eligibility information must not be shared with anyone without getting permission from the school nutrition director due to confidentiality issues. Another example is selecting members for planning and advisory committees in such a way as to exclude persons from membership on the basis of a protected class, or overtly identifying a student based on a protected class. Be sure appropriate measures are taken to include members from all race, age, and sex categories in any activities conducted by school nutrition services. For examples, don't have a student advisory committee made up of students from the same grade or sex. Ask a variety of students to participate. And don't assume students who are handicapped are eligible for free meals. In short, remember to always have good customer service. Treat others as you want to be treated, with equality and kindness, no matter who they are, no matter what age they are, no matter where they come from. This concludes the presentation on civil rights. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact your school nutrition administrator or refer to the school nutrition website. Over the next few slides, we will discuss further responsibilities of site supervisors. Site supervisors are responsible for ordering, distributing, and counting meals at the school site. This person may also pick up meals from our production site, but it could also be another appointed faculty member who picks up those meals. The site supervisor is responsible for maintaining completed and accurate documentation of the program and in maintaining food safety, sanitation practices, and maintaining a roster of students attending the summer camp program at their location. Your site is receiving meals from a central location. You are required to have what is considered unitized meals. This means that all of the components are packaged, delivered, and served as one unit. Milk is the only component that may be held separately from the rest of the meal, but it must be served with the meal. Meal components for the summer food service program are meat alternates, fruits and vegetables, grains, and milk, as we previously discussed. Delivery receipts are a requirement of any school or site picking up, receiving meals from a central kitchen, and it is very important as part of our meal records. There are multiple parts to the delivery receipt, completed at different points in the production and delivery process. Understanding the receipt increases the likelihood of accurate completion. On the top portion of this receipt, a food service worker or person picking up the meals will enter the delivery date even if the serving date is the next day. Individual serving sizes should be listed in the actual serving size of what is served, not necessarily the meal pattern requirement. For example, we may menu items at a larger serving size than is required. Or one day the vegetable may be 1/4 of a cup while the fruit is 1/2 of a cup. The next day it may be opposite of that. You must record the quantity sent and make sure that it matches the meal count form. You must also enter the correct temperatures. Temperatures of the food is what we are looking for, not the temperatures of your equipment at this time. TPHC, or time as a public health control, requires that food be discarded after 4 hours of being outside of temperature control. So, once food is removed from temperature control, you have 4 hours to serve or discard the food. A trained site supervisor or representative must complete and sign the bottom half of the delivery receipt. You will need to note the exact time the food is received and count to be sure that all items are present. You must also take a temperature of the food immediately upon receipt if you are not using time as a public health control. You must also ensure meals are served according to the site application. We will discuss this further in future slides. If you are using time as a public health control, you must discard meals according to those procedures by the time listed. Finally, you must return the delivery receipt to the sponsor the next day upon pickup of your next meal and on the next business day of your last day of operation. In the boxes below, find your school name. Above your school name, you will find your assigned pickup location. If your school is the production site, you will still need to pick up your meals from the kitchen staff and distribute those meals in a separate location from the cafeteria. With the exception of Spindale Elementary, the cafeteria dining rooms will be used to pack meals for the curbside service and will not be available for students. Please keep in mind that all school congregate sites were listed as open sites on the application with the State Department. This means that anyone 18 and younger could come to your location to receive meals during the meal service time window on your application. If this happens, those individuals must consume the meal on site and their name should be added to the roster. It is extremely important to follow the meal service times listed on your summer feeding application. Below, you will find your assigned meal service times for breakfast and lunch. If you need to alter these times, you must notify the Child Nutrition Coordinator so they can update your application. If any school is found to be serving outside of their assigned time, the State Department could seek financial retribution. In addition to serving meals that meet the meal pattern requirements, sponsors must also comply with specific rules as far as meal counting and documentation. We will discuss these now. As part of the SFSP program, we must conduct what is considered a point of service meal count. This means that children will line up at the service counter. A worker will stand at the end of that service line, and as the child receives their complete reimbursable meal, the meal counter will confirm that they have a complete meal and mark that child off on the meal count sheet. It is helpful to have someone assisting the students in getting their required components at the beginning of the line as well. Few things to keep in mind. Meals can only be served to children who are present at the meal site. Meals must be available the entire service window that is on the application. And meal service cannot begin or end outside of that meal service window. It is extremely important to ensure the accuracy of meal counts, as proper meal counts play a large role in program integrity. The goal of monitoring meal counting and claiming is to ensure the processes provide accurate counts of reimbursable meals at the site level. Each site is required to use the NCDPI Daily Meal Count Form. The top portion can be completed by the central kitchen or sponsor and provided to the site each day. Then, the trained site supervisor completes the remaining parts of the form during meal service, signs and dates the form. The form is then turned in with the delivery slip the next day upon meal pickup. When using the meal count form, children are marked off one at a time at the point of service as a complete meal is picked up. Each number is marked out one at a time. Do not mark under, above, or beside the numbers. Do not circle or draw a straight line through a row of numbers. It must be clear and legible. Fill in the site's full name, no abbreviations, the date, delivery time, and number of meals. Be sure to sign and date it before turning your meal count sheets in. Do not use initials. All meal count sheets should be turned in each day for the previous day. Please have all paperwork in a folder ready to go. You will note on your meal count form there is a section where it shows second meals. Second meals are only allowed at congregate sites after all children have received a complete first meal and when there are complete second meals available to be served. Please note, it is not the goal of child nutrition to have extra meals available, but when there are some available, they may be served, but only if the above conditions apply. Sponsors will only receive reimbursement for 2% of the second meals based on eligible first meals served. In this slide, you can see the top portion of the meal count form. It is extremely important that the entire site name be listed, what meal type you are serving, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or snack, or supper, the supervisor's name, the delivery date, time, and then meal service date if it is different than delivery date, how many complete meals were received, and then if there are any complete meals available from the previous day, you would record that there and add those two numbers together to show a total of complete meals available for that day's service. Please keep in mind that we are only serving breakfast and lunch in Rutherford County Schools, so you should never circle the S for supper or snack. The next section of the form is where you will count each child as they come through the line at the point of service. I have marked off the sheet as an example of how it should be filled out. Only first meals to children are counted in this section. Meals must be counted individually. Again, no lines through an entire row of numbers. No circles or marks outside of the numbers. Once you've completed counting all of the first meals, you will total them up and write the total in the first meal total box. The third section of this form is where you would record any second meals should they be available and served to students after all first meals have been served. Individual meal counting is still required in this section, and they must be complete meals, not only one component or leftovers from other meals. If you've served any second meals, you will mark it in the section that shows second meals served to children. Then add it to the total of their first meal section to give you a complete total reimbursable meals shown in the third box. In the fourth section of this form, you will see a section that shows the ability to count adult meals. Totals in this section should be 0. RCS does not get reimbursed for adult meals, and there is no way to collect money for adults during the summer, so we do not serve adult meals during the summer. The total leftover complete meals should also be 0 if you are operating a time as a public health control. In the fifth section of this form, you will notice that there is a section that you can count additional children requesting a meal after all meals were served. For instance, if you served all 20 students in your camp program and you had no additional meals available, but a student came to the school requesting a meal who was not part of your program, you would mark them on this sheet and add them to your roster. The next day, food service professionals would send a meal for that person along with your camp meals. Finally, signature and date are required by the trained site supervisor counting the meals on the day of service. Financial retribution may be taken by the state if meal count records are not complete and accurate. For example, if meals are not counted individually, one sign of that may be a line through many numbers, or just one mark on the final meal count with no previous marks. If the meal count form is missing required information, such as total number of meals available, or missing a signature, if more meals were claimed than number of meals available, or if the exact meal counts repeat each day with absolutely 0 variation. Now that last one is just a red flag because usually a student will miss at least 1 or 2 days during the time that the camp operates. But there are occasions where every single child shows up every day and they eat a meal every single day. It's just not likely. In addition to meal counting and claiming and the food pattern, we are required to train you on food safety when operating a summer food service site. As a site supervisor receiving packaged, complete, unitized meals, the most important thing for you and your staff to know are proper hand washing requirements. Hand washing is the most important part of personal hygiene, and many off-site supervisors either wash their hands incorrectly or do not wash them at all. To wash your hands properly, you must wash your hands in a sink designated for hand washing only. Wet your hands and forearms. Apply soap and scrub vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds. Rinse your hands and arms thoroughly. Dry your hands and arms with a single-use paper towel, and then use that paper towel to turn off the faucet. After all, you turned on the faucet with dirty hands. The whole process should only take about 20 seconds, but no less than that. Never apply lotion after washing your hands, and never use hand antiseptics in place of soap. Knowing how to wash your hands is only the first step. Knowing when to wash your hands is just as important. All site supervisors and aides must wash their hands before preparing or serving food, before working with clean equipment and utensils, and before putting on single-use gloves. You must wash your hands after using the restroom, touching your body or clothing, that includes the face and hair, coughing, sneezing, blowing your nose, or using a handkerchief or tissue, after eating, drinking, smoking, or chewing gum, or handling soiled items, after handling raw meat, after taking out the garbage, and after using a cell phone, just to name a few. Never handle ready-to-eat foods with bare hands. Always use single-use gloves or a serving utensil when handling ready-to-eat foods. It is not likely that you would ever need to handle ready-to-eat foods because we are providing packaged meals for your camps. However, if a child needs you to open a package, please keep this in mind. Because you are transporting food from a production site to your school location, it is extremely important that we make every effort to make sure that we store our food at the proper temperatures. You'll be provided with a daily freezer refrigeration temperature log. This log should be kept on the refrigerated unit in which you store your cold items. This must be filled out by the site supervisor every day. Items can be kept in the refrigerated unit for 3 days or by the expiration date, whichever comes first, at which point it must be thrown away. There are 3 site visits the school food authority or site sponsor is required to conduct. Pre-operational visits are done for new sites or problematic sites from the previous summer. But at all sites, an initial site visit must be conducted within the first 2 weeks of operation, and a site visit within the first 4 weeks of operation must also be conducted. Any additional monitoring will be done as needed. The Summer Food Service Program is reviewed by the state every 3 years as part of an administrative review, and potentially more frequently based on program size and prior problems identified by the State Department. In this slide, you can see an example of the first page of our site monitoring form. This form will be used at the initial site visit and 4th week review. We will retrain site supervisors immediately if there are any deficiencies noted. In addition to taking daily and weekly meal counts, summer meal service programs are required to have menus posted, signed delivery receipts on hand, and an Injustice for All poster posted where meals are served. These items will be monitored by the state agency and program sponsor, which for us is typically the school district. Just to recap supervisor duties, if you are picking up meals and bringing them back to your site, you must verify the temperature and number of meals upon pickup. You must also sign and keep a copy of the delivery receipt. You must do a point of service meal count at the end of the line when students receive their meals. You must serve one complete meal to each child. You must serve meals only during the meal service time listed on your application. You must complete the daily meal count form during the meal service and maintain daily attendance records of students attending your summer camp program, even those who choose not to eat. You must maintain temperature logs of any hot and cold holding cabinets used to hold your food before service. And you must communicate any changes to the child nutrition coordinator so that they may update your application. Finally, if you have further questions about the Summer Food Service Program, there are helpful documents from the USDA that go through the requirements in greater detail. Thank you for taking the time to complete this training, and most importantly, thank you for being a part of serving the students of Rutherford County Schools during the summer months. At this time, please return to your email invitation for this training and follow the link to fill out a quick survey. This survey must be completed to earn your certificate of completion. Again, we appreciate everything that you do, and we absolutely could not do this without you. The last slide is the required non-discrimination statement.